Good morning. My name is Evinch. I co-chair the Turkish American National Steering Committee, TASC, and I host the TASC Roots program on TASCTV. Last weekend, TASCTV went on 24/7 broadcasting, and we have reached more than 1 million viewers, approaching actually 2 million, and mostly Turkish Americans and many Turkish heritage communities in Europe, as well as, of course, the Turkish people in Turkey. Today, we have a very special guest. One thing we do at TASC Roots is we host heritage community leaders. So far, we've hosted the Macedonian American, Somali American. Next week, we'll host the Jewish American. But today we have the Albanian American community represented here. I'd like to welcome Marko Kepi to TASCTV, TASC Roots. Hi, Marko.
Hello, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. Marko, the Turkish American National Steering Committee represents the broadest diversity of Turkish Americans, including faith-based as well as people who are less faith-based or non-faith-based at all. And we are very strong supporters of the separation of church and state, but also freedom of religion. For our community, religion is very important in the Turkish American community. And in this diversity, we are seeking to represent American diversity. America is a place where everyone has come together. We're all American citizens, and we are diverse. We add to the richness of America with our cultural diversity, our languages, our insights. And I know you immigrated as a child to New York in 2001. So tell us about that, coming to America, and where you came from. Yeah.
So I came from Shoulder, Albania. It's in the north of Albania. And, growing up in Albania, the only people you saw was Albanians. So when I did come to America, it was a cultural shock. The diversity, I saw Chinese Americans, I saw Indian Americans, so African Americans. And I felt like I was in one of these movies that I used to see back home. And I was in shock. I was really in shock because I've never seen these people before in my life. So it took a little bit of adjusting. And, when you're a little kid, it's maybe a little bit harder to understand the reality and the scale of how big this country was. Because back home, we used to walk around everywhere. Over here, you could not.
Yeah. Similarly, I was born in Chicago, but I grew up in San Francisco. When we moved into San Francisco when I was like in first grade, I looked all around me and I noticed a very strong Chinese American heritage community, and populated and strong and active. And I tell you, our Friday night excursion as a family would be to go eat Chinese food in one of the restaurants of Chinatown, San Francisco. And similarly, there was the Russian section, and then there was the Italian section. It was awesome. So tell us about where you are in New York, and I'm gonna, we know I'm gonna talk about it, but we're proud that you will be running for New York City Council, and we want to learn more about that as well. So tell us about New York, the populations of New York, the diversity, particularly your district, and the challenges as well as the opportunities for the state, for the city, also considering the COVID challenges we have as well.
Right. So I'm currently in Staten Island. This is one of the 5 boroughs of New York City. And it's the smallest borough by population. If you compare it to the Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan, we're only about 500,000 versus Brooklyn is 3 million, Queens is 3 million, the Bronx is close to 3 million, Manhattan is about 1.5 million. We're only 500,000. But the beauty of here where I am in Staten Island is we have a lot of Albanian Americans. We have about 30,000 Albanian Americans. It's probably the highest Albanian population in the nation. It's in this borough. We also have a very large Turkish community presence. We have over 600-700 families of Turkish descent here in Staten Island. And we also have the largest, I believe, Somalian population outside of Somalia in the North Shore of Staten Island. So it's a diverse borough, although we're not the majority in this borough, we're a minority. The majority population is the Italian and the Irish, but we still make a decent amount of minority here in the borough.
That's great. You know, I grew up with Italian Americans, and I sometimes, from time to time, tell the story that we started the Turkish Students Union in college, and I was like the only Turk, and my Italian friends, and we needed 5 people to start the Turkish Students Association, and my Italian friends said, "Hey, I'll be your vice president. I'll be your secretary general." We got 4 Italians and 1 Turk together. We started the Turkish Association. So you went to college here in New York or United States?
I went to college, John Jay College of Criminal Justice. And at that university, the time I was attending, the majority of the population was African American and Dominican Americans. We had a Albanian association club. We also had a Turkish association club. So I remember when we had Albanian Independence Day, we had no budget to host the event. So the Turkish association came through and said, "You can use our funding." So it was funny because we were celebrating Albanian independence from Turkey, and the Turkish club was sponsoring our event.
Definitely. You know, it's heart to heart. I mean, people request and gain, and sometimes under very difficult circumstances and hostile situations, their independence and self-determination. The Albanian people have always had a strong place in the heart of Turkey and the people of Turkey. And it's interesting. It is independence from Turkey, but it's celebrated. And and that really shows you how common people are to each other, and how they support each other's dreams and their challenge, and help them through their challenges. And that is great. That the Turkish Students Association University helped on Albanian Independence Day celebrations at your university. You're also a U.S. Marine, obviously. Yes. We saw your website and we see your emblem. And so, first of all, we thank you. The armed forces, we thank. A soldier really doesn't ask questions, and the leaders send them in harm's way. And you ask no questions, and you go into harm's way for the national interest as it has been presented to you. So it's a huge sacrifice you give, and we always hope that our leaders make wise decisions when it comes to conflict. Is it really absolutely necessary, or is it dangerously superfluous and against the interests of America? And also, does it respect the warrior who you are, who the U.S. Marine is? So tell us about the U.S. Marine experience.
So I decided I wanted to join the United States Marines when I was a child, basically when the war was happening in Kosovo. I was living in Albania, and I remember the NATO troops coming through, the Turkish troops, the Italians, the Germans, the Spanish. And then I remember one day a different part of military showed up, and I said, I like these guys. And I realized later on that they were the Marines because they stood out of everybody else. Mm-hmm. But it just remained a dream because I knew I could never become a United States Marine living in Albania. Eventually, when my family came to America, this country's provided for me and my family, but Albania denied us during communism. We had a tough time during communism as a family. So I wanted to give back to this country, and I thought the best way to give back was to serve. And I decided to join the branch that I thought I would never be able to achieve it. I thought it's going to be the toughest one. And it was also a personal challenge to see if I'm capable of earning that title. And it's been the greatest experience of my life. And in the Balkans, every now and then we have conflicts back and forth. But I can tell you, my unit, I remember we took a picture. I should have shared the picture with you. I did not. We have 2 Albanians, we have 2 Turkish Americans, and we have a Greek guy, all in the same platoon. So, we're the United States Marine.
Right on. God bless. So more specifically, is your specialty you have in the United States Marines as a soldier? Is everyone responsible for the same type of responsibility, duties?
No, so I've learned when I joined the military, I thought at first it was just everyone gets a gun, you learn how to shoot a gun and how to fight with a gun. That's part of being a Marine, but eventually everyone has a different job, a different task. We're all required to learn how to shoot, how to protect ourselves, how to fight physically and whatnot. But eventually everyone has their own job. You have specific Marines that their job is they're cooks basically, and they have to cook for other Marines. You have Marines that only drive the vehicles. You have Marines that do administrative work. You have Marines that work in supply. You have Marines that work in logistics. I work at headquarters company, so we deal with all the paperwork, all the computer programs, the systems. We make sure that everyone gets paid. We make sure that we always have enough Marines to go forward. But that doesn't mean if a war starts, we're not going to be fighting with a gun. We always have a gun with us.
Yeah.
It's just that, like at the house, you have a mother, you have a father, everyone has a task, but you're together, you're one family.
Yeah, that is good. One of my roommates in the very past was a person who actually taught combat with unconventional weapons. So not a gun, but other things that can be considered weapons. And that I thought that was interesting. That he was a specialist on this. So yeah, it is a team effort. Everyone has something to bring to the team. Tell us about your family, Marko. You all moved here, immigrated. Your father, your mother. Do you have siblings? And how does the Albanian American family fit in with American society? How does the Albanian American community and their neighborhoods share their diversity with broader American society?
So myself and my family, we came here under political asylum. On my mother's side, after World War II, before World War II, they were allied with the King of Albania. Their family contributed for Albanian independence and for Albanian lands throughout the Balkans, fighting with the Slavs in the north, helping the Albanians in Kosovo and whatnot. And when the communism came, what they did was they basically targeted patriotic families that they saw as a threat to overthrow their government in the future because they knew they had influence. So my mother's family was prosecuted. And in my father's side, they were somewhat religious. So I remember my grandmother telling me stories how the communist regime would arrest imams and arrest priests and put them in jails, and they shut down religion and whatnot. So the first opportunity, I guess, my family had to escape Albania from communism or socialism, they took, and that's how we came to America. And we were grateful. This country welcomed us with open arms. I was the first one to attend college in my entire family, the Kepi families. I graduated with my sister. My brother attended college as well. My father works in the Rockaway, Queens. My mother works in the city. My sister now is a public school teacher in New York City. And I'm a Marine, so I feel like we're all contributing somehow to society. Yeah. And being Albanian in New York City, it makes you not want to miss Albania as much because there's so many Albanians in the areas where we live. So you feel like you're at home. Sometimes when you go back, we feel like foreigners because, they see us a little bit different. Like the immigrants are here, so, but it's a great feeling being here in New York and having your communities, being able to hear your language. I know that there's services that they provide in the city of New York in Albanian languages and where's hospitals or schools or whatnot. So they make it very comfortable being, from the foreign place.
Yeah, the Albanian American community is diverse within itself as well. You have, of course, Albanian Orthodox, and you also have Muslim. And in America, and after communism in Albania, the populations are free to practice their own religions. Tell us about your religious experience in America. You are a Christian Albanian. My grandparents, by the way, both my grandfathers were Albanian. They were Muslim Albanians, and we. So tell us about the church. How's it going?
So I hope my priest is not watching. I don't attend church as I should, but growing up in Shkodër, I was an altar boy, so I used to go to church basically every day. That's what we had as an activity. We would go to church, serve mass, and then play soccer outside the church. But coming to America, other things come in play, and as you grow older, I feel like a lot of people like myself, in a way, disconnect maybe from their going to church as often as they should be. My family, they're not as religious as well. We celebrate the holidays. Obviously, the holidays are very important, but not the typical family that's in church every Sunday. And, we try to go as much as we can. But my fiance, for example, she's a Muslim Albanian. I'm a Catholic Albanian, so we have a harmony, I guess, when it comes to religion. But I do love my religion. I did try to contribute whatever I could for my religion. Mother Teresa, for example, she's Albanian. And 4 years ago in Brooklyn at St. Athanasius Church, we erected a statue of Mother Teresa there. And the beauty that I saw in the American community when they showed up and celebrating, I was the only Catholic that contributed to that statue. Everyone else there that contributed financially, it was a big project. It was over $150,000, the whole work that took place. They were all Muslim Albanians. So when the American community, I started introducing them one by one and saying their names, and they're like, they don't sound like Catholic names. So I introduced them. I said, they're Albanians. They're not Catholic. They're Muslims. And they were shocked. They're like, why are these people, they're Muslim and they're contributing to Mother Teresa? So, we kind of taught the American community that, we don't see the religious barriers. We see the harmony. And she was a person that did great things for the world. And we decided to join together. The fact that she was Albanian, we were a little bit more proud, but, we did it.
Well, Mother Teresa's goodness was universal. She transcended all barriers. And I think that was a good message to people of diverse religious and spiritual backgrounds. And that's a very special story. I can see Albanian Muslims and Muslims in general in our community supporting that outlook, the outlook Mother Teresa brought and was universally recognized for. So you have a diverse core family right there, Catholic and Muslim, so that means you have even more reasons to celebrate when you. So
my fiance's side, she gets to celebrate more holidays and receive more gifts. In my side, I get to spend more on gifts. So
that is good. In my family, we're not very religious, and I do remember one Christmas we invited. My parents went to a Christmas party, and while they were gone, we brought to our own home our first Christmas tree, and we decorated it. Okay, and so we weren't sure how my parents would react to this, but what happened is they came home from the Christmas party at around 3 a.m. and then they walk into our house and there's a Christmas tree in the foyer, and we had written it on the wall, "Jesus loves you," to really bring it home for them. If you're going to go, you're not going to go halfway, you got to go full the whole way. And we remember them just laughing, and I think they had drank a little bit, and they were just doing great. And it was a beautiful get together. So in our house, we started to celebrate, like in your house, all the diverse holidays, may that be Muslim or Christian, and today, it's in my neighborhood, we're about 90%. Jewish Americans. So now we're celebrating also Jewish American holidays in our household with our neighbors. It's beautiful. So tell me, how are your interactions with the Turkish community going? In the New York tri-state area, there's around 100,000 Turks, but there's quite a few in New York City and quite a few, like 500, 700 families in your district. Do you get the opportunity to meet with them? I know you have a very good, very close Turkish American friend, also very close to me, my brother. Brother in a symbolic way, not blood brother, but pretty close to that, Ibrahim Kurtuluş. And so, yeah, tell me how that's been going for you. Have you been meeting with the Turkish American community?
So my first, I guess, Turkish American friend here in Staten Island was Ibrahim. He was introduced to me by Imam Tahir, who's the Albanian Imam here in Staten Island. And ever since I've met Ibrahim, we just had a great relationship, and we really become close friends. And I can tell you this: every time I call him, he's always there for me. He never misses my call, so he always picks up, and he's always ready to assist me in whatever way he can. And when I did reach out to him this time for the city council race, I said, Ibrahim, I need your help. I need you to introduce me to the Turkish American community. And he reached out to you. I do also have other friends that are Turkish that recently moved to Staten Island. The name is Midhat. And I joke around with him. I say, oh, you must be Albanian because we had an Albanian name, a famous Albanian, the Frashri brothers, Midhat Frashri. So he jokes around with me. He says, oh, I'm Turkish from Bulgaria, and my family moved from Bulgaria to Turkey. You never know. He says, maybe I do have some Albanian. So we joke around. But I remember in college, like I was telling you, the Turkish club that we had, we were very close. So we played soccer together. Some of them were in the soccer team. So I do have a good relationship. I was mainly focused in the Albanian community after college with the parades and the organizations because I saw we had a lack of organization in our community. But every time we have some sort of event, we're always coming together and sharing each other's events and celebrating together. So it's been very good so far.
Well, you're very lucky, and so is Ibrahim, for you to have found each other. I would commend Ibrahim Kurtuluş for being such a bridge between people in New York. He also plays an important role with the bridging with the Korean American community, and is a strong supporter of Turkish American veterans who fought for the United States in the Korean War, as well as Turkish soldiers who fought in the Korean War. The direct connection we can make to the U.S. Marine Corps is that the code of engagement, the code of conduct that was developed for the U.S. Marines after the Korean War was based on the modeling of the Turkish forces' performance in the Korean War. In two respects. One is in combat in the field, but also as prisoners of war. It is a harsh reality, a tragic reality that prisoners are arrested and are detained, and a lot of times they are exposed to torture, mistreatment, and situations that you'd rather just die instead of continue to toil in misery. So have you in your training as a U.S. Marine Corps have been exposed to this code, and how so? And how does it become a part of your personality, not just on the combat field or as a U.S. Marine with the uniform on, but your life as an American, as a person in your neighborhood, as a fiance, as a son, as a soccer player, so how does that, can you tell us about that? I think it's really important for our young people in America to see the U.S. Armed Forces as a alternative, as an option in their future.
So one thing I learned in the Marine Corps, which I was a little bit shocked, but the rules are the rules, basically. They show us that if you're in combat, for example, and you do capture your enemy surrenders, you have to treat them with dignity and respect, and you have to provide them meals and even mail and all the Geneva Convention rules. And a lot of us during training were questioning. We said, well, if this guy was shooting at us and trying to kill our brothers and sisters, why should we treat him so fairly and so nicely? And I remember my drill instructor we said, how would they treat us? And he said, they'll probably, not treat us as nice. And I remember we said to the drill instructor, so why should we treat them so nice? And his answer was, because we have to be better than the enemy. So right. They teach you about high morals. And my experience as a United States Marine overall, I would recommend to every not just Albanian Americans or Turkish Americans, but to everyone that's of age to serve in the military. You don't have to go active if you don't want a career in the military. You can be a reservist. Personally, I'm a reservist right now. My contract is for 8 years, and the way it works is you go through active training with everyone else. There's no difference whether you're active or reservist. Once you complete the whole training, the ones that are active, they deploy for 4 years as their contract says so. And if you're a reservist, you go back to your normal life. You continue with your normal job and everything else. You do attend Marine Corps training twice a month. So every month you go 1 weekend a month, and you're close to home. So it's not like you're traveling too far. So you get to go to the Marines, let's say on a Saturday, come back, you go back the next day. And then you also have your 2-week summer annual training where you go and they reteach you how to shoot and how to do your job better. So the best thing that the military does, it builds your character. It gives you the confidence. It teaches you how to act under pressure. It teaches you how to keep calm in under chaos, and that really does translate in the real world. Like I remember scenarios when I was at my civilian job, people would panic, they wouldn't know what to do. But when you're a Marine, just literally you just sit back and you analyze the situation, and you're able to act and think critically, and that's very important in general, not just for the military. So I think the youth has a lot to gain from the military. And I loved America when we came here. They gave us so much, and I thought there was nobody more patriotic than me. But when you do leave the military, you realize that you're a lot more patriotic. And I think that's a great thing as well, to love the country that you're serving and the country that's serving you back.
Definitely. Now, in college, there are programs like ROTC. Do you recommend those programs, and what are the benefits? I think sometimes if you're part of the ROTC, you commit yourself to the armed forces, but there's also a scholarship aspect of it as well, a grant.
So I didn't know any better when I joined the Marine Corps. I have 2 college degrees. I have a bachelor's in political science at John Jay College, and I have a master's in Wagner College. So technically, when I joined the Marine Corps, I should have joined as an officer. I did not know. I was just so excited to be a Marine, and my recruiter said, "This is the way you're going to go. You're going to go to Paris Island," and I had no questions. Said, "Just send me there." So I remember in boot camp when we first got our drill instructors, the first thing that they said is, "Whoever served in ROTC and who was a Boy Scout, stand up." So those people stood up. They were the ones that were put at the front of the line. They became our leaders, basically. And they told us that in ROTC, they teach you, so you're not a rookie. You kind of know what to expect. And besides the training that they know that they can count on you more than everybody else, there was other things like knowing how to drill and whatnot. And then the ROTC programs, they have a lot of scholarships for colleges. And you can also go straight through officer candidate school instead of joining the enlisted side of the military. So you do get a lot of benefits, not just rank-wise, but also, when it comes to payments, when it comes to getting a free education, a free college that the military provides you. You have a lot more benefits joining through the ROTC than just joining right off, the streets, if you want to say it.
Well, maybe with your help, what we can do is reach out to the Turkish American, Albanian American youth.
More than happy.
Talk about ROTC as an option when they go to college. I was a resident advisor, which was kind of like a police officer in college, in the dormitories, to make sure people are not breaking the law or the rules. And it was a great experience. But I do remember our ROTC people were, because of ROTC, they really were able to stay out of trouble. And they were, secondly, this is more important, in a very unassuming way, in a very kind and friendly way, they were role models too, as well, to everyone in the dormitories, and of course, athletics was very important, and it's a place where it's a forum where everyone can join, whether you're ROTC military or not, and there's a lot of good exchanges there as well. So definitely, I think we should do a program. It could be a webinar, it could be local, in person, in a COVID condition, CDC guideline-based format, to offer this education, these options to our young people. And I think their families would appreciate it so very much. So, and the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts, this is another option we can offer our young people, our children actually. I was thinking my daughter was a Girl Scout, and it was an excellent experience. One thing, Marko, in the schools, at least in my schools, in my public school area that I live in, we pledge to our allegiance when we raise the flag. So, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's a really short way of saying something very deep. Can you talk about that? The Pledge of Allegiance, also what it means, one nation, indivisible, liberty and justice for all, and how we as Americans of different heritages can defend these principles.
Well, like I was telling you earlier, after I left the Marine Corps, I felt a lot more patriotic. So we used to do the Pledge of Allegiance in school here in New York City public schools, and to most of us it was just like a song that we were required to do every day. But then when you do the Marine Corps training and you see that flag rise up every morning, it means so much more. It has you have like a personal connection with the flag and with the anthem and with the Pledge of Allegiance. And I remember when we would chant the Pledge of Allegiance in the morning with the Marine Corps, you would get goosebumps. Everything meant something. You felt like you had somebody had your back, and you didn't feel alone, and you felt that whatever you're doing, you're doing for a greater good. So I think that is important to all of our youth to understand that it's not just a song; it's more than that, and it really builds character. And the stronger the characters we have, the stronger the nation we have.
Definitely, and stronger the solidarity of
Right.
America's diversity. I want to go back to some culture. Tell us about the Albanian culture. What is the language? What are the characteristics that you very much like? Having an ethnic Albanian background, in my own family, we are known to be determined. Sometimes people can say, that's not determination, that's being stubborn. I say, no, it's determination. I'm determined. So, and tell us about the food, the music, the folklore, folk songs. What do they sing? What did the culture sing about, for example?
So I'm going to tell you like a little funny joke, I guess. There was an Albanian guy, a friend of mine. He was in the car with one of his Jewish friends, and they were driving around, and he was playing Albanian music. And the Jewish individual said, what is this guy talking about? And he said, oh, he's singing. He said, but he sounds like he's crying, he said. And he said, oh, singing a song about this war, singing a song about that war. And the person said, do you have any other songs besides songs about wars? So part of our music is they sing to our heroes and to our past wars and struggles that we had as a nation. But we also do have beautiful music when it comes to our wedding music, modern day music, modern day Albanian music. It's kind of been mixed a little bit with European styles, and it's really a beautiful mix of the Balkan culture all together. A lot of times, it's very difficult to differentiate Albanian music from Greek music or Turkish music because it's about the same beats, it's just different wording. So it's beautiful. Americans love it. I've noticed every time you play an Albanian song, the Americans are like, "Oh, this is nice." They try to repeat what they're hearing to, even though most of the time they don't quite catch it, but they find it fascinating. As far as the food, I wish we had a different diet. Everything we have is so fattening. In the Marine Corps, we have standards as far as weight and height and everything else. So I know we're always, myself, for example, and my Turkish brother, Lance Corporal Bari, every time we have the waiting for the Marine Corps, we're like, oh, we shouldn't have that last birek or that last cevapa. So we're always joking with each other. Our food is great food, and I know we have an Albanian restaurant finally in New York City. It's the first ever Albanian restaurant in New York City. It's called CoChair. It's very hard to pronounce, and when people stop and see it, they take a minute to try to figure it out. But food is so Albanian, and it's very interesting.
What does it mean, Marko? CoChair?
Basically, it was a word from back in the day when people lived off the land, and the husband came back home and said, "What do we have to eat today?" And he said, "CoChair." Basically, this is what I shot, or this is all I was able to catch. That's basically the meaning behind it, like a hunter's saying. Yeah.
So this is what I have, and this is what we're gonna eat. The stew. That's also the warm and fuzzy feeling home dish. No, in my family, when we had what we'd say, oh, this comes from Albania, it was usually spicy. And there was onion with liver with spices, and it was very delicious, very strong as well, and the folk dances. But I do want to go to soccer a little bit. The Albanian team is really coming along.
Yes. I'm very proud of it. I remember growing up as a little kid watching the World Cup. I was a fan of the German national team, And I remember I used to ask my father, during the World Cup or the European Cup, I'm going to say, "Oh, Dad, one day Albania is going to make it." And he used to look at me and says, "Never." 4 years ago, Albania made it for the first time in the European qualifiers. So it was a huge surprise. It was huge glory for us. The unfortunate part about our national team in the past years has been that, like most new democracies, there's a lot of corruption, and that corruption goes everywhere, including sports. The Swiss, for example, a national team that's one of the best teams in the world, 7 of their players are Albanian.
Right.
The German national team, their best defender is Albanian. The Swedish, I remember, national team, they had one of their captains was Albanian. Turkey, we had plenty of Albanians. I remember they even said that Hakan Şükür had Albanian origin, if not, Albanian, like the ones from Switzerland that were born in Albania and Kosovo. So we always had our teams spread out. And even now with Kosovo, like we're happy that Kosovo is an independent country, but we have 2 split teams. And, hopefully one day we can just have one national team and get all the A-stars to play for the Albanian national team. But they've been progressing a lot. And part of it is because most of them are children. They're immigrants in foreign nations that they grew up through the German soccer teams or the Italian or the Turkish or whatnot. So they come back and play for the Albanian national team, which is a great feeling that they're not giving up on their nation.
Yeah, there's like a lot of Albanian players. Albania is feeding a lot of the national teams out there, like Switzerland, and they're really star players. Eventually, as the Albanian players play in other professional teams, like in UEFA, at the club level, they will have a choice to play for a foreign country which they may be born in or immigrated to, or play for Albania. The Turkish national team, in comparison, has many players that came in from other countries and want to play for Turkey instead, and they've made a big difference. And corruption, definitely, that is a huge problem, not just in the Balkans, but in the Mediterranean. And it brings a different definition to the democratic struggle of these countries. With U.S.-Albanian relations, Albania is, of course, going to be an important ally of the United States in the Balkans. What can you say about that? What are the challenges and what are the opportunities there?
Well, I think Albania has no greater ally in the global scale than the United States of America. And in the region, they have no greater ally than Turkey. Whenever Albania is struggling with its neighbors that we have problems with time to time, it's either United States or Turkey that steps in and basically defends us. We're tiny compared to our neighbors, and we always need that extra help, that extra support, and we're always proud to have Turkey's support and America's support. I know that America tries as much as they can to keep implementing democracy in Albania, to bringing judicial reform, to trying to eliminate the corruption, even though it's quite impossible to do so. But they try to do their best to make sure that Albania moves into the next century. And I think gradually it's a lot better than where we were in the 90s, but it's still way too far where we should have been. We should have been a lot more modernized as of now. We should have less people leaving Albania. Albania is a beautiful country. We might be a small country, but God has given us everything. We have a beautiful beach. We have you can go from 90-degree weather in the summer at some of the best beaches in Europe to snowy mountains within 30 minutes. That's how close we are from the mountains and the beach. So it's shocking that we can't turn that tourism into a powerful economy.
Definitely. So when we talk about the economy of Albania, definitely tourism is a potential, as you stated. What is the Albanian economy based on, in addition to tourism?
So we do have a lot of oil in Albania. We do import a lot of electricity. We do have a lot of mines as far as chrome, steel, electricity. I believe would be the best. Don't quote me on it. I don't have the exact industry which one they're the best in, but I know they have a lot of agriculture as well. Now there's been a few Albanian Americans that went back home and they opened the wineries and they opened some of the biggest companies when it comes to alcohol and apple juice companies, milk companies. They're trying to integrate it to the region, basically, whatever they can sell to the region. And we do also have ports. We have some of the best ports location-wise in Europe. So by mobilizing them the right way, it will extend Albania's GDP for the future. And I think they can be of great help, not just Albania, but the region in general, because not many of those countries have ports that ships can cruise into.
Also the human resources, technology, I believe, is a viable sector. We know from the state of Maryland, having set up a sister state program with Turkey, that cybersecurity folks are going to Turkey, and then through their Turkish partners are going into Albania and to Kosovo, where young people, very smart, bright, excellent technology, are heading the front line on cybersecurity matters. Also, this has helped give an option to young people. They have two ways to go with cybersecurity. One is compliance with the law and being productive. The other is, of course, negative stuff that can happen with cybersecurity. So, Marko, have you ever come to Turkey?
I have only been in the airports, the exchange flight between America, Turkey, and Albania.
Well, we got to get you in Istanbul, out of that airport into Istanbul.
So one day, I know my fiance tells me that her grandfather, I believe, used to do business in Turkey. Her father used to do business in Turkey, and she had relatives that had actually went to Turkey and bought homes and had vacation homes basically in Turkey. So she tells me it's a beautiful place. I've seen pictures, in the internet. I know it's a beautiful place, and would love when the opportunity comes to go over there and really enjoy myself in Turkey. And I would love to visit Izmir to see my other Albanians. How they feel there, what's the difference between them and us in America, and how they feel being part of Turkey.
Definitely Izmir, the region of Izmir, was a major refugee area, received, in terms of populations of those times, it was a huge population of refugees, about 15,000. From Albania and Macedonia and Greece. So there is a strong Albanian, Macedonian, and Jewish identity in Izmir. It's definitely a city that I believe Albanian Americans should visit and meet with. Turkish people of Albanian heritage. And is a prosperous city. It's a culturally diverse. It's a port city as well on the Aegean Sea. One thing we could do with TASC and the Albanian American community is engage in a program we called Youth Bridges. And with Youth Bridges, we bring Turkish Americans and their non-Turkish friends to Turkey in the summer times for cultural tours. We've discussed this with the Macedonian American community, and we are thinking to bring Macedonian Americans to Turkey, and then adding a Macedonia bridge to it as well. So Turkey and then Macedonia. This is something we should do with the Albanian American community, Marko, and with your community leadership. When we connect to the young people, for example, on the ROTC matters, we could also connect to them on the Youth Bridges project as well. You go to Albania, of course, so you could be a bridge for us.
It's a great idea. When we started the Albanian organization that I run, it's called Albanian Roots. That was one of the things that we wanted to do, some sort of exchange program where Albanians go to a different country and then they come to our country. One of the opportunities that I had here in America was I was part of a program called People to People Student Ambassador Program, which is exactly what you just described. And the whole point of this program was to build bridges between nations through their youth. Basically, when the youth meets the youth from other nations, and they see that there's very different. The similarities are not that much, and there's really more similarities than they have differences. Then we can have a better future and less wars and less, problems in the world. But we have more harmony and more investments. And I really saw that program firsthand myself as a child. It really worked, and it really opens your eyes in the world. So I think this would be a great program. I know Albania, we do not have any sort of programs like this with any nations right now. And this is one of the things that also the U.S. Embassy had spoken to me, that you just mentioned Vermont, I think you said the state that...
Maryland.
Maryland.
Yes.
So I remember the gentleman at the U.S. Embassy said to me that we have 0 sister states between America and Albania. So it was a very similar program that you mentioned, which we're lacking. So this would be a great start.
Marco, we should. There's 2 programs: sister state and sister cities. And sister cities are between cities and cultural, very important in people-to-people diplomacy. Sister state takes on a broader mission, including business relations, foreign affairs, humanitarian assistance, and that is something we could do definitely, and we should do between New York state and a province of Albania. And you have such a huge population of Albanian Americans on the island. I mean, in New York City, it makes total sense to go that way. Now you're running for New York City Council, and could we talk to you a little bit about what are the challenges in New York that interest you in addressing? What are the opportunities? Every challenge presents an opportunity, of course. The flip side of a bad situation, how to make it better, is in itself is an opportunity. So, could you talk to us about New York? This is very important to our listeners because, like I said, 100,000 Turkish Americans come from the tri-state region: New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut. And a huge portion of that, 50 or 60,000, is right there in New York City.
So again, the area where I'm running for office is called Staten Island. Is one of the 5 boroughs of New York City, and it's an actual island. So it's kind of split from the other boroughs. And a lot of times in New York City, they speak about 4 boroughs and they forget about Staten Island. We're the smallest borough, like I mentioned earlier. But we have no free way to get to Manhattan. That's where most of the jobs are. We have a Verrazano Bridge, which is the most expensive bridge in the nation, and they just rose the toll last week again. So it's a huge burden on the people here living in Staten Island because they have it makes everything a lot more difficult for them. They have to spend a lot more money just getting to work, where other people from different boroughs, they can go for free. They can cross through the Queens Bridge or the Manhattan Bridge or Brooklyn Bridge. They're all for free, but for us, we have to cross the Verrazano Bridge, which it's a huge toll. The taxes in New York City, especially in Staten Island, they're going up every year, and we have people moving from Staten Island to New Jersey. We have like in a way, a caravan of Staten Islanders leaving every year. So it's affecting our borough in a huge way because it keeps changing. And another thing is we have no ferries. Staten Island, we have the Staten Island Ferry, which is the main ferry, but the New York City program has something called the fast ferry system. Every borough has 3-4 ferry stops. Staten Island, which is ironically an island, we have 0 fast ferry services. And that would be a huge help to people living in Staten Island. That would reduce our traffic, it would reduce our pollution, and the fast ferries would get people from Staten Island to Manhattan to Brooklyn a lot quicker. It would cut their commute time basically in half. And we don't have that. And it's ironic that we can't build more ferry stops in Staten Island, the fast ferries I'm speaking about. Also, we have a huge pothole problem in Staten Island. Every time it rains, we have the floodings. It's like it becomes like Venice at some major road. You can't really cross through. So it's a lot of it's not like Albanian issues or Turkish issues. It's issues in general that affects everyone equally. And these are some of the reasons why I want to run. And I am proud to say that Staten Island, we have a lot of NYPD officers that live here or retired officers, and I'm very pro law enforcement. And I've seen the past year that they really have been betrayed. And the city of New York, the mayor, the governor has really left them for dry and have not supported our police officers. And that's another issue that I really have dear to my heart, and I want to support law enforcement and all those people that put their life in danger to serve our city, whether it's NYPD, fire department, sanitation, and the EMS workers that, they face difficulties each day.
Definitely. Now, the first responders, they have to be supported. May that be law enforcement all the way to paramedics, all the way to our frontline workers in the hospitals. On the good side, the cases and the deaths due to COVID-19 have come down significantly in New York. The losses that have been suffered is huge. As a nation, we are over 520,000 deaths right now. So as TASC, we have taken a very active role in helping first responders get the masks and the surgical suits they need. We've given these donations to hospitals, as well as community centers, as well as straight to the municipalities. Bringing down taxes, I would agree. We're stuck between being overtaxed, I believe, and then seeing our taxes wasted. And people have to survive, and they will leave high taxed areas. So as you explained, there appears to be an exodus of people from Staten Island as well. And your idea for, what did you say, fast ferry?
Fast ferries, correct. They're much smaller ferries versus the bigger ferry, and they're a lot quicker to get through the city.
Yeah. The fast ferry looks like a great solution to traffic and pollution. If people can get to where they get to where they want to go faster instead of traffic. God, that sounds so logical. Mass transit or public transportation is critical. And then it is a type of transportation that people pay for. It's per use. It's not free. So there we have some tax money supporting the programs, but people using their money for public transportation rather than filling up their gas tanks and sitting in traffic and polluting the air. Definitely sounds to me, Marko, that you're really thinking about what the people are going through and how they need to be taken care of. At TASC, a principle that we believe in is by the people, for the people. And it's really based on team spirit. And I think that's what you're talking about for the people of your district. So what's next? Can you tell us about what the timeline is for the elections?
So I will be in a Republican primary. So the only people that can vote in this election are registered Republicans. And my election will be on June 22nd. We have a petition process. In order to be a candidate, a legal candidate, your name has to appear on the ballot. And there's a process that's called the petition process, which starts March 2nd. So each candidate is required to gather 270 signatures. And then you file with the Board of Elections, and then eventually they certify your petitions, and you become a candidate for the primary election. So the only people that are going to be able to vote for me will be those that are registered Republicans. Excellent.
Now, Ibrahim definitely going to help you on that. It looks like he's a good person to have next to you. That's going to be good. Well, Marko, we very much enjoyed, personally, I would say, and my crew very much enjoyed being with you, hosting you today. I want to mention a little bit about the TASCTV crew. It's about 40 volunteers and some professionals. It's a very modest budget, but we're doing a lot of work because people are dedicated. Again, for the people, by the people type approach to developing democracy, improving Turkish American civic engagement, and building friendships in the community, such as with the Albanian American community that were discussed today. And the most amazing thing is they are young. The average age is around 25, 7, somewhere there. And they are hopeful. And they want to break all paradigms. There's always a better way to do something. And so again, like public television, public radio, community platforms such as TASC can bring a better understanding of how, as America, we can solve our problems, how we can build solidarity and unity, and how we can have more productive relations with other countries. The grassroots aspect of foreign affairs is very important. We see it play out a lot on Capitol Hill, and balance is important so that foreign policy is well-rounded, considers all aspects. And part of that is you. When we decide to send soldiers abroad, we again thank you for your service to the United States. And we will do our very best to make sure our leaders think twice, carefully, about the conflicts that they want to engage in before they send you in harm's way.
Well, thank you for your kind words. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you and your audience and the Turkish American community. And also want to thank your staff, because I know how it is running a nonprofit. For most of the people are volunteers. You really can't ask much for them, but the ones that are active and are involved, they really give their heart and soul to the cause. And I know they mean well and they do well. So I want to thank them for their support to your network and to your organization. And I hope that in the future, as we spoke, we can work something together between and build more bridges, because at the end of the day, the more bridges we have, the better our lives will be.
Yes, totally agree. Thank you, Marko. You be well, be safe.
Likewise. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to TASC Roots today. We welcomed and interviewed Marko Kepi of the Albanian American community. He's a U.S. Marine Corps soldier, as well as a candidate for the New York City Council from Staten Island. We wish him good luck, and we wish you a great afternoon, Thursday, today, the 25th of February, and good weekend. Thank you again. Be well all.